Okay,
help
sit
with
down.
anything
Huh?
else? We're missing one.
Wait 2 minutes and we're laughing.
All right.
So are you good? Well, I told
Yes.
Sarah.
Yeah, I'll just sit
Green,
down in the front to
yellow,
watch.
15 seconds, red card, they cut the mic off.
That sounds good. I think it's better to be rigid when we don't have a lot of time.
And she cut it to 15 seconds because there's too many of them.
Carrie has it. Carrie has it.
Okay, clock. Timer.
So this is going to record us
Okay.
starting now. It's already recording what we're saying. I'll learn how to cut things out.
Okay,
So good?
all right, I've got my timer working. We're laughing. And set that up to start whenever you're ready.
Because if it does an hour and a half, then that gets the basics of everything, right?
Yeah. What you doing an hour and a half? Let's erase that one. Okay, so when we hit start, it records. Okay, just press the button and we'll start.
Display?
Yep. Okay.
Do you want Melanie?
Yeah.
Hello everyone, good evening. Thank you for coming. My name is Melanie Antweiler and I'm the chair this year of Vancouver District Parents Advisory Council, and I'm very glad you're all here. I'd also like to thank all the people sitting behind us that you'll hear from mostly tonight. I'll keep this short. But I just wanted to let you know, as the District Parent Advisory Council, we call it DPAC, we deal with like PACs do, but more on the district side of things. So we're involved a lot more closely with the school board consultations, being involved in the committees. And right now there are 5 of us on the executive. We do have space for a couple of more, and 2 of our members on the university behind me. We also have a seat as parents at any of the advisory committees that the school board has, which includes things like emergency preparedness. And if anybody's interested in participating in that regard, the meetings are usually 2, 3, maybe 4 times a year, so it's not a huge time commitment, but it's a great way to get involved as a parent if you like. I'd like to thank a lot of people for helping put this evening together. As I said, there are 5 of us as elected parents, volunteers. There's myself, Farah Shah, I'll be introducing shortly. Mabel's son is here somewhere. Oh, there she is. Arash Tabazian is our treasurer, and Alex Dow is our member of our and back there. Not used to these lights anymore. So the 5 of us have been working closely with some people who also help us out. We have here Dick Woldring and Tasha King, and some of you might have also heard from Deandra Morgan, who right now is trekking through South America. So she's coming up in the cold rain that we've got. And I'd also like to thank Claudia Ferris, who is helping us with all of our media, and she also brought all the snacks for tonight. So thank you for that. You have child minding. Right now it's my 2 kids plus another boy. If any other parents come, if you don't mind, just direct them to go through this exit sign and turn right, and there are 2 young ladies there who will happily help out this evening. On your way in, you might have met Bill Hood, who is here somewhere as well. He's raising his hand back there. He's organizing another event for next Monday, the Civic Election Issues. And that's being held at Trout Lake Community Center on Monday evening from 7 to 9. It'll be a good opportunity to maybe continue the conversation from tonight. So I'd invite you to attend that. I know he's left a few of these sheets out in the lobby as well, so please feel free to pick those up. Now, on that note, I'd like to introduce Dr. Farah Shroff, who will be moderating us this evening, and she'll explain the format of the evening and kick things off. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Welcome, everybody. It's a delight to see you all here on this gorgeous autumn evening. My name is Farah Shroff, and I am on the DPAC Executive. Before we get going this evening, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the sacred and beautiful lands of the Coast Salish people, the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Burrard, and Capilano nations. So just gratitude to the original stewards of this land. This evening, we're fortunate enough to have an amazing turnout of our school trustee candidates here, and a wonderful turnout of parents and other concerned citizens. Welcome, all of you. This evening, we have a format that's going to be divided in two. The first part of our evening is going to be a series of questions and answers, which I will pose to each party. You'll get a chance to hear them. And then the second part of the evening, what we're going to do is to ask each party to occupy a particular spot in the auditorium. And you as parents are going to get a chance to go and meet them face to face and ask them any questions that you're interested in. So we encourage you to wait until that interactive portion for your questions. So without further ado, I'm going to begin with the questions, and I just wanted to let you know the process that we followed in compiling these questions was one that's taken us several weeks. We took the opportunity out to parents and PACs to pose questions, and we got a number of questions, quite a few questions. And what we did was we took the questions and then grouped them and themed them, and tried to see how we could make this evening a manageable evening by asking just a few questions. So I basically got about 5 or 6 questions, and what we'll do is we'll allow each of the parties, only one representative of each party, to answer each question. We've given them a very, very strict time limit of 90 seconds, and we have a really, really good timekeeper here, making sure that we do adhere very strictly to that 90-second time limit. So I will begin with the first question, and I encourage each of the parties just to put your signs up so that everybody knows who's here. So just so that you do know how many people, how many of our candidates are represented. We have, sorry, can you show your signs? So we have the work class part. You're supposed to be over there by the W's. Sorry. We have them. Yeah, we have everything
Alphabetical.
in order. Sorry. I remember kindergarten when we had to do our ABCs, so we have to do that alphabetical to be as fair as possible. So we've got Hope, followed by the Green Party, and our independents. I guess you're the only independent, yes? We seated our independents together, but we only have one this evening. And then we have the NPA, we have the Public Education Project, Vancouver First, Vision Vancouver, and Work Less. All right, everybody's in alphabetical order. Great. All right, so we will begin with our first question. And it's a two-part question. The second part of the question is just a yes or a no, so I encourage you simply to answer with a yes or a no for the second part. So the first question is, how would you lobby for new funding from the province or other sources? And if you received this new funding, how would you spend it? So the second part of the question, which again is just a yes or a no question. Are you in favor of selling the SB property for any reason? So we will just go alphabetically and allow just one member of COPE to begin answering, and I'll pass it on to Laura tonight. Yeah, sure.
Let's use the wireless as much as we can.
I have a request for repeat question. So the question is, how would you lobby for new funding? And if you received it, how would you spend it? And then the yes or no question is, are you in favor of selling PSB property for any reason? So we'll just pass it on to Laura tonight, and whoever from the both party is going to take the question. Sell PSB property. So your 9 minutes is going to start.
As soon as he takes the mic.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Pratt. I'm a co-candidate for the school board. Funding for schools, as you know, has been in a short supply. We need to work with the different levels of government. School board can't go it alone. We've seen that now, because we don't control the purse strings. We need to look at what can the city do for us. We need to go to the provincial government. We need to to go to the federal government. We need to get them to step up and be accountable for our children. As a school trustee, I would want to work with Vista, and on a larger scale, ECTF. I would want to get together with parents' organizations like the PAC. Sit down, talk, brainstorm. Answers can be got from many, many different places. They don't just have to come from the school board trustees. We need to work with our communities. We need to see what ideas are out there. You have good ideas, we have ideas. We need to put our heads together and we need to come up with a solution. We need to find ways. If I can't find the answer, perhaps talking with parents, perhaps talking with Vista, we can find ideas together.
It's 90 seconds.
Sorry.
The mic goes off in 90 seconds.
Can we get a simple
Hello, I'm
yes?
Helen Fraser, and I'm a school candidate for Green Party, as is my colleague Misha. The vast majority of funding for the school board comes from the province, so we would have to lobby the province to provide full funding. And I think one of the outcomes from the strike this summer was that many people realised that public education is in crisis. So I'd like to hope that the parents and all members of the general public can come together to let the provincial government know that there is a problem.
As to how to spend
Oh,
Mike's should
here, you can use this one, John.
keep going.
As to how to spend the money, there are so many things we can spend money on. It's a tough question. We would have to look at the budgets we have, the priorities, and consult and collaborate with the stakeholders in the system. As to selling school board property, I cannot imagine a situation that I think school board.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Apologies for the technology here. All right, we're going to go with our independent.
Hello, I'm Larry Falls. I believe that we can acquire funding not only from the community, the city, we also should get funding from the provincial government, which is, again, we also need to look at the federal government. And not only that, we have a partnership with various organizations within the city. For example, construction organization, business organizations. In the future, there's going to be a great need for more trades. So why not look at unions as well to support?
Try this one.
Okay, we're not going to use the wireless anymore.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Testing again.
All right, so nobody likes to hear what I'm saying.
No, please don't take it personally.
But as I was saying before, our students are in greater need of more knowledge and need to be more equipped to deal in the future than what we ever have had in the past. And in that regards, we need to not only look at government funding, but funding from all sources.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Larry! Remember, orange means you have 15 seconds left. Okay.
Okay, up to the NDA.
20 seconds. No, it's fine.
Hi, my name is Penny Noble, and I'm here as a candidate for school board on behalf of the Nonpartisan Association. I'm a former teacher, and I have a lot of experience in fundraising. That's the business I'm in these days. So I'm delighted to answer this question. And thank you all for being here, because I really applaud your commitment. How do we lobby the government and other sources of new funding? Well, first of all, the most important thing is to build dialogue and have a good relationship with the provincial government. Currently, that's not happening under the vision-led school board. So we would work hard to build up that relationship and have an open relationship with the provincial government. We can't do it alone. We need to be collaborative. That's what we would do to work on funding from the provincial government. Now, other sources of funding, there are a lot of other opportunities out there that we can be looking at to enhance the funding that comes from the government. And so that is something we see as a huge, huge opportunity. It's been done extremely successfully in a number of other school boards around the province. Why not here in Vancouver? Why should our kids suffer when there are opportunities out there that we can take? And as to what we can spend it on, I think that really depends on all of you and other stakeholders. We need to consult widely, we need to really listen hard and take into consideration what you think. And would we sell school board properties? No. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MPA. And our next party is
The Public Education Project. Hi, I'm Jamie Lee, and I'm a parent and a former trustee two terms and vice chair of the board. And these are really important questions. It's not a question of lobbying, I think it's a question of all of us working together, building a really broad community engagement to take on the provincial government. The importance of education funding being public funding is an extraordinarily important principle. It means that there's some sort of democratic control over where that money comes from. The school board, a democratically elected body, will have a say on how those funds are spent. There's an increasing reliance on private funding, on donations, on parents anteing up. It's a dangerous erosion of public education, and we completely and totally oppose that. In terms of the question of where to spend, the Cope School Board that I was on, 2002 to 2005, we had that kind of broad public community engagement, where all trustees participated, but also teachers, parents, community. And in the only time, in the last 14 years, we actually won more funding. We had extra funding that year to deal with. And it was difficult. It was difficult to decide where to spend it. We were able to choose to spend it on the most vulnerable students in terms of equitable outcomes, and no to selling public land.
Thank you very much, Public Education Project and Jane Bowie. Our next candidate comes from Vancouver First.
Thank you. I'm Ken Denank. I've been chair of the board 5 times, so I've got some experience in terms of dealing with funding, dealing with these things. I'm here with Sophia Wu, who's my colleague, Vancouver First. When we look at options for funding, there are some areas that have really hardly been touched, and I think we need to do more. Example was with the federal government, where the rest of the country was looking for funding from the federal government as well. Ontario had a special arrangement for their settlement workers in schools. The rest of the country didn't. We worked hard to lobby the federal government, actually went and talked to the caucuses. The federal government said that it was just totally unfair that Ontario had that funding and that, for example, Vancouver and BC didn't. The government provided Swiss funding right across the country, and we have now the Swiss funding in place. And that was just one particular component. There are a number of others. With regard to the provincial government, provincial funding, the Controller General came forward with some proposals. The Auditor General is now looking at them in terms of restructuring the way in which we handle our financing. I think that's a possible area that we could get significant more funding with the money that's actually in place when we get born.
We like technology.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vancouver First. We're now moving on to Vancouver, and Patty Baucus will be speaking with you.
My name is Patty Baucus, and I'm the chair of the Vancouver School Board. I've been chair for the past 6 years, and I'm here with Mike Lombardi, who is the vice chair, Joy Alexander, who is one of our new candidates, and Alan Wong. We also have 3 more candidates who couldn't be here, Rob Wyman, and Shirley Payne, and Ken Clement. No to selling off school lands. We've been very clear about that as a board, and we will continue that. Advocacy for public education funding is the #1 issue in public education in BC. BC has the 2nd lowest for student funding in the country, second only to Prince Edward Island at the bottom of the heap for how much we spend per student.
That is unacceptable. BC kids deserve better, and that has to be the key focus of the Vancouver School Board. We have the highest child poverty rates in the country, also unacceptable. We will continue to advocate and show leadership and advocacy in terms of working with others, providing clear information through things like our restoration budget that we have been submitting each year to government with our compliance budget proposal, itemizing what has been taken out of the budget over the last dozen years and where it needs to go back. It needs to go back to supporting students in classrooms, to giving teachers the tools, the support, the composition they need to be able to do their very best work to ensure each child can succeed in school. That's where the money needs to go back, to restore what has been cut away over the past dozen years under the current provincial government.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vancouver. Work-Plus Party is next.
I am with the Work-Plus Party. We run the best party in Vancouver, and we make a lot of money off that party. So as long as it's fun, that would be the first choice. Obviously, there's a lot of political pressure that you put on these people to get the money, but it's all about the money, isn't it? Sometimes these schools that don't have money do better than the schools that do have money. Sometimes the schools with a lot of money don't do so good. Money is not the first priority. It's somewhere down the list somewhere. Commodification of students is like rampant. These are human beings, and to put a price on their head and sell them back and forth like this is slavery. And I delivered well under budget. As far as selling the school stuff, I abstain on that question. I'll deal with it one at a time. People have to deal with that one at a time. How do we know? Like, we can't answer that question honestly, so I'm abstaining.
All right.
Thank you very much, Work-Plus Party. I wanted to repeat the second question again with a show of hands from the parties. So just so that we can have a visual response to that question, are you in favor of selling VSB lands for any reason? Please raise your hands if you are. Yes, those who are in favor of selling VSB land.
Sold it. What are you talking about?
So those who are not in favor of selling VSB land?
They sold it.
All right, thank you very much. Great. So we've got the answer to, and what have you said? It depends, and it's on a case-by-case basis. All right, so the next question. School trustees virtually every year are tasked with eliminating programs. Please identify which programs you would cut if you were elected on November 15th. So I'll ask the question one more time, and we're going to start with our Work-Plus Party candidate this time. So the question one more time. School trustees virtually every year are tasked with eliminating programs. Please identify which programs you would cut if you were elected to be a VSB school trustee on November 15th. And please go ahead, Work-Plus Party.
I think I might let the students decide.
Okay, thank you very much. Vision Vancouver, it's your turn now.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Michael Hardy. Pleased to be here tonight, and great to see people here talking about one of the most important things in our lives, and that's public education. It's a very, very tough question for us because we've been grappling with that for some time. As you know in this room, the government has been chronically underfunding education for the last decade plus, and our Vancouver School Board has had to cut a lot of dollars out of the budget, which has really been really tough on our kids. The bottom line is, if we have to make those difficult decisions, there's only one way to do it, and that's to consult and engage with our community. Vancouver has a very vibrant, dynamic consultation process. We consult with students, with teachers, with administrators, with parents, and we want to try to find consensus where that has to happen. And we will do that. And I'm very proud of the fact that in 2010, the Comptroller General came to Vancouver to visit us and made one observation. The Vancouver School Board consults too much. I'll wear that badge of honor anytime. So we don't want to have to do that. We want to put our attention on advocacy and bringing the money in, because investing in education is one of the best investments we can make. I recently read a UN report that said for every dollar invested in education, there's a $7 return. We can do better, we will do better, but if we have to make decisions, we'll consult, we'll engage, and we'll reach consensus. Thank you.
party is Vancouver First.
Hi. Actually, if you answered the previous question correctly, you don't need to cut any budget, you don't need to cut any programs. It's not a way to budget, it's more like just set our priorities. If you answered the previous question correctly, we don't need to cut any programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next candidates are from the Public Education Project.
Good evening, I'm Wendy's Jane. Neglected to introduce me, but I'm a colleague of the Public Education Project. And we're very happy to be here this evening, thank you. What programs would we cut as trustees? Well, I've been sitting in the budget consultation process at the BSD for a long time. As a DPAC rep, congratulations DPAC reps that are here in the audience this evening. You guys deserve medals, each and every one of you. So I've seen the cuts. I've seen the programs being cut. Which programs would I agree to cut? Well, it will come up again in the budget consultations. There will be consultations on which programs should or should not be cut. Peter will fight with Paul, and in the end, some cuts will be made and some cuts will not be made. The cut that I would like to see made is the cut to the funding that goes to private schools to fund those programs. With the increase in funding incrementally over the years to private schools, it has come at a cost of programs that are being offered are able to be offered in public schools, because we keep hearing over and over again that there's not enough money. And there's not enough money to fund public education, but there's enough money to fund private, subsidized private education. And there's enough money to, oh, I've been cut off.
Education Project. We now move on to the NPA candidate.
Thank you very much. Fraser Valentine, I'm currently a trustee in the Vancouver School Board, and I want to introduce Stacey Robertson, Christopher Richardson, and Penny Noble, all running. And this is a very difficult question to answer. What I would like to think is we need to find out where we're spending all our money. We need to share that with the parents, and we need to share it with the DPAC parents in particular, so that we can all look at what the priorities are and where we can actually make definite cuts. It's a very unpalatable thing to do, but it's part of the fiscal responsibility and fiduciary duty that we have. The other part of it is that we need to have it evidence-based, so that we need the information from we have to rely on our senior management in determining the whole smorgasbord of cuts that we could do, so that we can make a decent decision. Right now, we only get a partial look at what the cuts are going to, what the cuts can be, and they often are kind of high-targeted, high-profile programs. We need to have everything on the table so that we can make a decent decision in determining what our real priorities are for our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, NPA. We'll now move on to our independent candidate. You get your turn next.
How can you cut funding when there's probably going to be an increase in school population? I think if we're looking at funding, if there's a demand for funding by the government, we need to engage the teachers, the students, and the community at large. We also need to look at the future and how that will affect the needs for better quality education by funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much for our independent candidate. Now we have our Green Party's turn.
Hi everybody, my name is Misha Oak, and I'm a Vancouver teacher. I've been a teacher with the school board since 2008, I really believe we need a teacher on the school board to advocate for the needs of our classroom and the needs of our students. And Janet Fraser and I are really focused on bringing new funding into the system, as well as making sure that we're using our resources better. So it's about using our money well and making sure that we're advocating for our fair share of tax dollars. Now, when it comes to programs that we're going to protect, we've prioritized the programs that support the most vulnerable students in the school system, and we're also hoping to bring the perspective of making sure our schools are providing all students with the skills they need for the future. So let's use what we have better. Let's go out there and find more money. Let's make sure that we're getting our fair share of tax dollars to make sure we have a school system we can believe in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Green Party. And last but not least, we have our candidate from COPE.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. My name is Lana Schechter, and I'm running along with COPE. And part of our platform, I really want to emphasize, is that we will no longer be complicit for any further funding cuts. And COPE is the only party that has a history and a legacy of protecting our future and your children's education. COPE in the 1980s decided to commit an act of civil disobedience and not pass a balanced budget. And that what ended up happening is that funding was restored, COPE was re-elected with a majority board, and we really hope to look for new ways of making sure that public education no longer undergoes the funding cuts. And to just piggyback off what the Public Education Project said, regardless of whether or not we even need to do funding cuts, I think that we really already need to stop subsidizing private education, and this is something that COPE will fight for absolutely everybody that believes in the values of public education. So COPE is really committed to not even looking at that as a possibility and really working with activist communities all across the community and all the stakeholders that are in this room right now.
Thank you very much. So that completes that round of questioning. Our next question, and we'll start with the side of the COPE candidates. Regarding the Aboriginal focused school, what would you do as a trustee to see the recruitment of students is done and the program expanded? If you were elected as a school board trustee, would you be open and willing to have an Aboriginal School of Excellence for students of high school age? So there's a two-part question, so I'll repeat the question. Regarding the Aboriginal focused school, what would you do as a trustee to see that recruitment of students is done and the program expanded? If you were elected as a school board trustee, would you be open and willing to have an Aboriginal School of Excellence for students of high school age? So we'll begin with Diana Day of COPE.
Thank you, Carol. My name is Diana Day, and I'm running for candidate with COPE. I'm very passionate about Aboriginal education. I'm a First Nations woman. I've been parenting two teens, amazing teens now, and one is in grade 12, and the other is in his first year at SFU. And one of the things that really got me interested in education and being on the PAC, and also on the DPAC as well, is the lack of supports for Aboriginal graduates and the amounts of Aboriginal graduates that were falling out of school and not graduating from school. So the first part of the question was about the K-3 school, and I have to say that I was involved in all of that. Actually, when Vision first got elected 6 years ago or so, I was at the party. I voted for Vision. I voted for Ken Clement. I was there, and I said to Gregor that we need a mini school because my son was struggling with grade 8 and transitioning. And I told Gregor we need a mini school. I told Patty, I told Ken, I told everyone who would listen. And they did. And they started a consultation. Then it turned out, I attended all the consultation. It turned out that they did a K-3 school and not still the adult school was missing. So for recruitment, I'm very.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
The clock is clear.
Thank you, COPE, and we'll now move on to the Green Party.
Thank you so much. Janet Fraser and I, we really believe that we need to be creating programs that keep students in the school system, and instead of the public school system, instead of leaving for the private system. And part of that is making sure we're creating schools and programs that support people that are looking for choice and looking for a focus. And I'm definitely supportive of the idea of a First Nations program all the way from K up to 12, or First Nations specific schools, where kids can go and families can go, regardless of being First Nations or not, but wanting to have a focus on that education, that history, and that important message that is part of our shared history. And we, in terms of marketing and getting the program out there, it's really about making sure parents know about what's available. And we feel there's a lot more that can be done to make sure that parents have adequate information, such as updating the Vancouver School Board website, but also working to get information out to parents and make sure that we're creating an opportunity for engagement from parents to come back and tell us what they think. I was meeting with teachers over at Queen Alexandra who were really upset about losing their designated inter-city school funding, and they didn't have a chance to input before that decision was made. So I think we need to work more to get more input before decisions are made. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to our independent candidate.
Having worked with First Nations for a number of years, there is one thing I believe is missing in this question. And it's not what can we do to get more First Nations children involved, but how do we engage the First Nations community to advise us the best way in dealing with this serious concern? I believe that all children are very smart, highly intelligent, more than what we are when we seriously look at it. So I think in order to have more involvement of First Nations children, we need to deal with the parents of those children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barry Falls. We'll now move on to the NPA.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Richardson. I'm running the NPA for School Trustee. And I'm familiar somewhat with the program because it's located at McDonald School, and since it was created, there's been a trouble getting students to enroll. And whether it's the neighborhood, in fact, it's across the street from my grandparents' old house on Semlin and Hastings. But I think we have to go out to the community. Certainly, I want to go out to the broader community, but also I think we have to consult the First Nations community. The elders have some advice, I'm sure, on this matter, how we can encourage it. We believe in the NPA that all students have to be provided with opportunities that are inclusive to their needs. I'm running in this election because of special needs, and I would say that in terms of providing First Nations education as well. And the question is it appropriate for in one location, as we've done with the Mandarin program, or is it a number of locations throughout the city? As for the whether this should then be, as the program now is K-3 and it's been gradually to be increased, I think we should, in fact, the opportunity to provide a school of excellence at the high school level should certainly be something that should be part of that consultative process. I think it's appropriate that everybody be seen, heard, and understood. Thank you.
Thank you very much, NPA. We'll now move on to the Public Education Project.
Thanks. I'm Jane Bowie. My son is Métis, so I have a particularly strong interest in this area. I'm proud of the work that I did as part of the board that was the Open Vision Board in the previous term. We were the ones that established the Aboriginal focused school. We did it through broad community consultation, particularly with the First Nations community, and I think it was a good process. It maybe could have been better, but it was a good process. I think that I agree with moving to it at a secondary level. But one thing I think is important is that Aboriginal education has to be enhanced in all curriculum, in all schools, and for all students. That's something that needs to be a priority. My colleague Gwen Giesbert is chair of the PAC at Britannia, which has a strong Aboriginal population and actually has an incredible record of some academic excellence in working with the Indigenous youth at that school. So that's also something that we're proud of. And look, I live next to McDonald School, so, and our campaign office is just across the street. So just to make a couple of individual points.
Thank you very much, Public Education Project. We'll now move on to Vancouver first.
I think we all recognize that this is a really critical issue. The school as it started out, needs a critical threshold in order to be sustainable. The difficulty faced is that it's getting largely people or students from the local area as opposed to being a more district program. It was intended to be and should be a district program. So how do we deal with that? If we look at it, Trustee Wu and myself, the opportunity to have some time to look at it with Don Fiddler, who's also very concerned about this. So the concern is that the need to get out to the other schools to point out the importance of having a regional or district program for Aboriginal that has in it not just Aboriginal students, but students from across the district, a diverse clientele, in order to have a supporting group, a larger number, and to develop that threshold, to move it on, and then be able to expand it up through and have eventually a high school program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to Vision Vancouver.
Thank you. You get me again because I was probably most closely involved with my colleague, Trustee Ken Clement, who is not here this evening, on the development and implementation of the Aboriginal Focus School. We have a couple of good things happening in Vancouver. One is since we came into office in 2008, we've seen a 14% increase in the graduation rate of Aboriginal students. That is the direction we still want to see those rates get a lot better. And we had talked about the importance of a different approach. We know there have been some pretty tragic history in terms of how we've approached supporting Aboriginal students in public schools. We made a commitment that we were not going to lead this. We were going to walk side by side with our Aboriginal communities in determining the path forward, how we do a better job of supporting not just Aboriginal students, the knowledge, the understanding of all students in the public school system, understanding the history and the place that we are creating a much different kind of culture right across the district to create a stronger sense of community for students who are from our First Nations. That process at the Aboriginal Focus School is one of continued collaboration, where we're working together with the families. What we didn't have at the beginning was a parent group. We now have a parent group. Our board is committed to going back in the spring to sit down with the original steering committee who determined that a primary model would be the best approach, and that came from the Aboriginal Steering Committee of Community Representatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vancouver, and now let's go with us, Freddie.
Yeah, I'm going to use make this time out of calling it all my time. The only, my first response is a total and complete revolution. It's not the school board's business to keep natives in school. It's the natives' business. They're sovereign people. They have to do it themselves, and our role would be to respond to that, person by person. I'm pretty disappointed by what I see as a kind of a colonialist approach to this from a dominating kind of school board. With the exception of NPA, I would never have guessed it, but they did mention elders. You should have a balance. That's what my take on First Nations perspective is balance. And I read a great essay about how soccer tournaments are replacing powwows and people coming full regalia. Obviously, you make them proud. who they are and give them a role to preserve their language and culture that's been decimated because it was outlawed. So they have, this generation has a huge responsibility. You show them to have that responsibility and they will take care of themselves. Also, if you make fun of yourself, you find that helps.
Thank you very much for this story. I love making fun of myself. Thank you so much. I think that's a wonderful tip for all of us. I wanted to just remind you, we've got 2 more questions, but I just wanted to remind you that we have the opportunity as citizens of Vancouver to elect 9 of these candidates. So as you're listening to them go around, you might be starting to tick off and the lucky number 9 that you're going to be voting for. So listen for their names, listen for their parties, and get a sense of which platform you support. That being said, we're going to move on now to a question about the music programs in the elementary and secondary school system in Vancouver. So the question is, do you support funding the elementary and secondary band and strings program under any and all circumstances and making it part of the core curriculum? Further, are there any prospects of increasing the numbers of specialist teachers in our schools, specialist music teachers in specific, rather than constantly reducing them? So I'll ask the question again, and this time we're going to start with the NPA. So do you support funding the elementary and secondary band and strings program under any and all circumstances and making it part of the core curriculum? Furthermore, are there any prospects of increasing the numbers of specialist teachers in our schools rather than constantly reducing those numbers?
This is a tough question, but not too tough because my wife is a music teacher and I know the value of music and kids learn through music. It's part of one of the attributes of Gardner's multiple senses of learning, and there's all kinds of evidence out there, research out there that shows that kids learn through being involved in all kinds of music activities. I've been a teacher for 15 years and a counselor and administrator, and I know the value of it. So I would be supporting the music program wholeheartedly. I would somehow find the money through some sort of creative fundraising to make it happen. Absolutely. The other part of the question was increasing the specialists. I do believe we need to go back to providing some specialist kind of teachers in our schools, whether it's not only is it music but also physical education, and hiring music specialists. From UBC, I used to be a recruiter from I used to go to UBC and actually recruit teachers. And one of the things I would say is go into music, go into industrial ed, tech ed, or get into counseling if you're already in. Get some work done in special ed. Make yourself well-rounded so that you can meet the needs of the students out there that you're going to be faced with. And I really believe that the music program provides an integral part of a kid's life. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And again, on music, we're now asking the Public Education Project.
Thank you, Wendy's right here. Band and strings program, fantastic. My son played violin all the way through elementary school. I went to high school, he learned to play the trumpet, and then he learned to play the trombone, and hasn't picked up an instrument in 2 years, but he's really good at math. He's really good in languages, and I am so happy that he had an opportunity to get some music instruction in our schools. That opportunity is not available in all our elementary schools. It should be. We don't need a band and strings program. We need music instruction that every child can benefit from without the fee attached to it, and not in this school or in that school. I think any educator or anybody who studies education and brain development understands the importance of integrating music into that learning ability. So I would wholeheartedly support keeping in place what we have, but also expanding upon it so that it is accessible and available to every single student, at least at the elementary level. That would be a very small monetary cost with some few extra teachers. And it used to be something that was considered a given. I'm sure you all remember learning to play the recorder. And in terms of those specialty teachers to teach that curriculum, that would be money well spent, because a well-rounded public education is and should be available to every student.
Thank you very much, Public Education Project. We now move on to our Vancouver First candidate.
Hi, my name is Sophia Wu. Trustee candidate like myself support wholeheartedly strengthening school band program for both elementary and high school program. We support it strongly. Yes, but regarding the core program become controversial. We don't want to force any kids who are not interested in music for sending to the core program. But we strongly support the string and music school band program. Also, research also stated that when we start kids in the student program at a later age, they tend to stay in the core music program longer. So we support wholeheartedly string and school band programs. And we also support expanding special music teachers. So we support the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vancouver First. We'll now move on to Vision Vancouver.
Thank you. I'm Joy Alexander. I'm running on the Vision School Board. Vision does definitely support Vision of the music program in the schools. Was a school psychologist, and I dealt with a number of children who are at risk in the school system, and I know firsthand that we need to give them every opportunity to find success at school, whether it's in music, whether it's in the band, whether it's in theater, whether it's in sports. So it's a no-brainer to support it. But we have a situation here that we don't have the funding that we had in 2002. We need to get that back so that we can have the band program the kids deserve. Thank you.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Vision Vancouver. We'll now move on to the Work Class Party.
Pass on the mic. Everyone can hear me. So I had this thing about putting everybody in the same thing, even though some of the students have a passion for music. And I took band, and every morning I would go in early for school, so it wasn't in the regular curriculum. We'd show up early to play the violin. There were 5 or 6 of us, and I didn't have much passion. I'm not really good at music, you know. But some kids were really good at music, and you can go and teach those kids everything through music because it includes math, it includes all the other subjects. So this is not my idea, but it's the direction we're heading, so that you let the student, if the student has a passion for music, then you relate everything back to their passion, and then they can learn better that way. Because I remember some kids, nothing was going to stop them. They were going to learn how to play the drums, and they wanted to play the drums. And there were a lot of other unorthodox methods that we could use, like bands and other kinds of music, things that you wouldn't expect. I think that this should come out of the teachers. A lot of the reason why I was in strings was because of the teachers, and the fact is that in spite of the system, not because of it. Sorry that
Good.
It's not grammatical.
Thank you very much, Work Class Party. We're now moving on to COPE.
Hello, Rob Fox again from COPE. I didn't mention this the first time I came up, but I'm a retired Vancouver teacher. I was with the Vancouver School Board for 32 years, special needs. More than that, I was once a student here at John Oliver High School. Actually, if you go down the hall there and you look for the class of 1970, you'll see me up on the wall. While I was here, during my time at John Oliver, I was a member of the band program. Ron Pajella was the teacher here, the band teacher, and I have to say that my experience as a member of the band at John Oliver was one of the most memorable times, one of the most enjoyable experiences that I had as a high school student. The concerts we played, the practices, the trips that we took into other communities to do concerts, those were the things things that made high school such a memorable experience for me, and I believe that students even today still share that bond that we all have through music. Do I support the band program? Absolutely. I think it's one of the most wonderful things that our school board has to offer, and I think that we should work to keep that.
Thank you very much, J.R. Brad. Very nice to have a grad from the school that we're at. That reminds me that I took a biology 11 at the school, so I too have really good memories of being in the halls of the school. We'll now move on to the Green Party.
Thank you. I know Vancouver has a fantastic bands and strings program. My school at Laurier, we're fortunate enough to be part of the strings program. I have spent many evenings and afternoons listening to their strings repertoire every single year at the concerts. We're also fortunate to have a specialist choir teacher, so our children do get a lot of specialist music education. But I know this is not available in all schools. I also know that the board is reviewing how they're funding the band and strings, and I hope that that procedure will be in collaboration with parents, in collaboration with the music community, so that there can be a way to fund this. I know parents are frustrated at always having to fundraise or pay fees for their school programs. It would be fabulous if we could find a way to get around that. At the same time, we must balance the needs of all students. Students do learn in many ways, some through music, some through arts, some through sports. And I'm sure one of the difficult aspects of being a school trustee is that you have to balance these priorities with the budget available. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Green Party. We'll now move on to the last person who's going to answer this question, our independent candidate.
I too grew up in high school in a high school band. And it did bring back incredible memories, and I wish that every child, every student would have the same experience. However, that was yesterday. Today is a different world. I support a band program, but I also understand that there are priorities. And where does music fit in these priorities? We're looking at not just strings today, we're looking at electronic music, computer music. Kids are more technologically savvy than what we've ever been. We also have to consider that. So let's look at the priorities and let's look at the reality and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Friends, we are now on to our last question of the pre-prepared part of our evening. So I will ask that, and then you'll get a chance to do some interaction. Some schools have a high percentage, up to 25%, of designated students who need additional educational or behavioral supports in the classroom. How will you ensure that the resources allocated to children with special needs actually go to the schools that need them the most in our district? So I'm going to repeat that question again. Some schools have a high percentage, up to 25%, of designated students who need additional educational or behavioral supports in the classroom. How will you ensure that the resources allocated to children with special needs actually go to the schools that need them the most in our district? And I'm going to start again with the NPA, so please come forward.
Hello, I'm Stacey Robertson, and I'm running the school board trustee for the NPA. Part of the problem, part of the issue that this deals with, I think, that we're advocating is that there's been out speaking with parents, and it looks like there's about a 2 to 3 year wait list for the psychoeducational assessments to get the designation for a child with special needs or behavioral concerns. This assessment needs to be done in order for the school to get the funding from the provincial government. I don't necessarily agree with that model, but that's the funding model we're dealt with. So first and foremost, we are committed to reducing that wait time, which then will provide the funding to go directly into support for the teachers parents, and the rest of the schools. Because those kids sitting in a wait list with no funding doesn't help any of the problem. So I think first and foremost, you need to make sure that you get provincial funding that's allocated for those students. And of course, that funding then needs to go to those students that need the support. Because if they don't, it hurts the teachers, it hurts the students, it hurts all the other students around. It makes the classroom a difficult place to operate. And that's what you hear consistently throughout the school strike about class composition. So I think first and foremost is alleviating those and reducing those waitlist times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MPA. We're doing wonderfully for time. We are really keeping tight to our timeline. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to our independent candidate.
Could you repeat the question one more time?
Some schools have a high percentage, up to 25%, of designated students who need additional educational or behavioral supports in the classroom. How will you ensure that the resources allocated to children with special needs actually go to the schools that need them the most in our district?
I think we need to make sure that funding in the schools are accountable to the students, to the parents. All children have a right to learn. Even young people with disabilities are highly intelligent if they're given the opportunity to learn. And I think we need to consider that. Unfortunately, there seems to be labels applied to slow learners, to learners who may have a little bit of difficulty. In reality, they are capable of learning a great deal more than perhaps the average student. We have to consider that. We need to look at the funding and ensure that policies are followed in regards to meeting the needs of those who need it the most. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pauls. We'll now move on to the Green Party candidates.
Once again, my name is Misha Oak, and as a teacher, I've certainly dealt with many of these challenges. In my first year teaching grade 3, I had 5 boys in my class who went on 2 years later to find out that they needed one-on-one support. And their families knew it all along, we knew it all along, but we were trying to get that support from them and just couldn't. So we, at the Green Party, really want to make sure that parents don't have to fight for the funding that they need and the support that their kids need. We want to make sure that the funding that comes in for kids who need special needs support or behavioral modifications or adaptations, that those kids get that support they deserve. And to make sure that happens, we're going to target our attention on those kids to make sure they get their funding, but also really push hard on the provincial government to make sure that we're protecting class size and composition and make sure that we're getting the funding that we need in our schools. I would also like to say it's been really interesting tonight to hear all of these great different ideas. And I think this is something that our school board would really benefit from. Right now we have a few voices. I think it's time for a variety of voices at the school board level so that we can bring this perspective in and make sure we're coming up with the best solution. They're not partisan solutions. They are solutions that are focusing on creating fantastic educational experiences for our students and our families. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Green Party. We'll move on now to Cope.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kobe. I was born back in Africa, but the reason why I'm here and I want to run, I'm here with the whole heart, defending kids with challenges. I'm a mother, a foster parent to kids who have those difficulties. And if I really will see that there's money for this kid and it's not given to them, I don't know how I will feel. I have worked very closely with the school that one of my kids went to, and I saw how hard the teachers struggled. The school has 1 teacher, 2 support staff, and 13 kids. the government to see this. I'm sitting in that class on a daily basis because I want to support my kid and I want to support the teacher so that my kid can remain there. So if anybody told me that it's going to cut those funds belonging to those kids, it's killing us. And I'm telling you, when you go out there, there are not so many people who know that we have kids with disability. They don't know. So I am for no cuts for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hope. We're now moving on to the work class party.
I mean, never felt like it's such a hard act to call. My name is Mrs. Dover. I mentioned that it's true. I changed it because of my personal family issues. I won't go too much into this, but I do have my oldest son's keel shape. He's 9 years old now, and in kindergarten he was diagnosed with special needs. And they gave him a test that was really for an older kid, and he moved schools. Plus we were going through those things. And anyway, the thing is, they would have had to fire someone if he wasn't determined to be special needs. He was just having some issues getting into kindergarten. It was not easy for him, and I had to job all the time. So he wasn't like a blind kid. I mean, the same thing applies to a blind kid. I think we have to go classroom by classroom and assess things, and also stop really going on money all the time. It's not the first priority. It's not always about funding anything. I understand you got issues with the funding that it costs $40,000 for each of the special needs workers a year. So I understand that. But on the other hand,
you just can't, you can't do a across the board kind of an answer. You're going to have to go classroom by classroom, and it's difficult no matter what.
Thank you very much, work class party. We will now move on to Vision Vancouver.
Thank you, Howard Long, This question from Deepak is a good question because it ties in first and second questions with regards to funding. And with regards to special needs, and it's not only this current board, but it's always with the Vancouver School Board. The board funds twice as much as what we get from the provincial government in terms of special needs support for our students. And that's something that we're proud of, but at the same time, we need to get the provincial government to step up and properly and adequately fund special needs students. In the district and the school level, with regards to special needs, I think it's most important to have collaboration with each individual students. We need to review and have that support for every student. It's not just the ones that get assessed, because there's so many that are not assessed, and they're on, some are already on an assessment list that they have to wait until even when they get up to high school. So we need that assessment support, and there's increased support this year, starting from the summer schools to have that progress. Collaboration, we need to have parents, we need to have the school teams, the teachers and administrators come together and look at the individual students. There's a lot of gray areas. It's important, and the board has been looking most importantly at early intervention. That's important and crucial in today's system, and there's a number of early intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Vision Vancouver. We're now moving on to Vancouver First.
Thank you. This is a topic that both Sophia Wu, who's the mental health clinician at Vancouver Coastal Health, as well as the chief steward, and myself have been working on and attempting to get the government to really examine changes that are happening. The changes that are happening are very important for early assessment and early intervention, and that is the whole basis, the sort of framework of the books they work upon, psychiatry, are now have been changed from what was version 4 to version 5. The difference is that the assessment is quite different than it was in the past. And what we see is it's important that the Vancouver School Board work with Vancouver Coastal Health to pull together what this assessment is before going much further. The other issue is in terms of the funding. We get extra funding with funding. That should be allocated before the basically staffing is done, not afterwards, which is what happens today. So there are a couple of major changes we've been working with and lobbying the provincial government in order to make those adjustments, and I think the results will be much better.
Thank you very much. Vancouver First. We'll now move on to our last speaker on this particular question, Public Education Project.
I have a hard time talking about this one without getting really emotional. It's what drove me into becoming a public education activist back in 1993 when my son started school. Quickly realized he had some significant learning issues. It took 2 years to get an assessment, and then discovered that, okay, he was assessed, but it was still a big struggle to get him the supports that he needed. Every time I won in my own personal advocacy for some support for him, it was taken away from another child. So clearly it was a systemic issue. It was a question of underfunding. Now things got worse. The Liberal government's stripping of contracts made a huge difference in terms of who is directly impacted by cuts in education. It's disproportionately students with special needs. There is no way that anyone in this room can say that they are getting the education that is their right. And that is a crime. So I would agree with Hope. I think that it's time that we stop being complicit. If we have to keep making the most vulnerable students in our schools the ones that suffer the most, then we have to at some point say, no, we're not going to do it anymore. We won't be complicit. We won't continue to cut the supports to the students who need us.
Thank you very much to all our candidates. We've now asked you a range of questions, varying from looking at issues of funding, looking at which programs you would fund if you had more money, which programs you would eliminate if you didn't have money. Then we focused on 3 particular issues of great importance to our students here at the Vancouver School Board, looking at Indigenous students' issues, music programs, and students with special needs. We're now going to give each of the parties just 60 seconds. So again, we will be very strict. We'll give you 60 seconds to do a final statement, a final closing statement about your position, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do after that. And we will start with the Work Less party.
Do my best to go into the bunch on this one. I learned a lot. I think I have for you guys, because you come out here on a weeknight, and it's not easy. Good job.
That was 20 seconds.
Yep, 20 seconds.
Awesome. All right, Vision Vancouver.
Clap. Thank you very much. And thank you so much to DPAC for hosting this evening, for all of you for coming on and caring about public education. We are very proud of our record of supporting teachers through a very bitter dispute, advocating for fair deal, advocating for fair contracts for the staff who do the work. We are very proud and will continue with our advocacy for the funding that our schools need. We need to maintain the quality of programs that make our schools among the best in the world. We're very proud of the work that we do, but we are concerned about the continual erosion, and we will continue to lead that fight. We also are committed to completing the seismic mitigation program. As many of you know, we've been at the forefront of advocating for the school seismic upgrades. The school is one of the supported projects we have coming. We have signed hundreds of millions of dollars in school seismic funding and completed several projects, but we need to keep that pressure up and we need to continue that work. We will continue to work with our partner groups on advocacy, projects like the restoration budget.
Thank you, Party Officer of Vision Vancouver. We'll now move on to Vancouver First.
Technical glitch.
Hello? Thank you. I'm going to speak briefly about the role of both Sophia Wu and myself on the current board, and what we're proposing for the next board is that we maintain that as being opposition, so the loyal opposition, bringing forward a number of issues that are important, that are being swept under the carpet, or issues that need parental involvement and consultation that we're not getting it. We're basically taking a view that we're listening, and we'll listen to you, we'll listen to the issues that come forward, and we'll support in terms of getting them into the decision-making on the board.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to public education project.
Just want to speak a little bit about the public education project and how we came to be. Jane and I have both been active in different ways in education, and we've both been strong supporters of public education and advocates for it. Public education project in this particular election is designed to allow voters to cast a vote that is for a party that is only about public education. That is our sole reason for running in this election. We are not affiliated with any parties that are running candidates for council and mayor, because we believe that a strong vote for an education-focused party in this election will send a strong message to Victoria that public education is a priority for voters. It's easy to be sidetracked in a political campaign and not have the issues of public education addressed, and we want that to happen this election. So a vote for public education project is a vote for public education.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the NPA.
Thank you. First of all, I'd just like to say that I have deep personal experience in professional needs. I know how heartbreaking it can be. This is something we really must address. And about the NPA, we are not your grandfather's NPA. We are your daughter's NPA. And we ourselves are looking for change. And we are going to look hard and leave no stone unturned to make sure that every single child, every single youth, every single young adult in this city gets the education they need. We're going to engage in constructive dialogue. We're going to build collaboration. I totally agree with what Nisha from the Green Party said. We all need to put our partisan differences aside. We're all here for one reason. We're here to make the lives of the children in our society better through publicly funded education, and we will work together for that through the NPA. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to our independent candidate.
We need to consider the challenges in regards to intellectual development of the child, the social development of the child, and the vocational development of the child. The student is our number one priority, and we must look at what we are doing to ensure a positive future with good economy and a good workforce. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our Green Party candidate now.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone here for coming out tonight. I know everyone in this room cares deeply about children's education in Vancouver. I'm a parent with 3 children in Vancouver School, and Nisha has taught for many years. And we have learned from parents, staff, and children that we have great knowledge of the system, and we would love to be able to use that to improve education for all of Vancouver students, including our West Island students. If elected, we will advocate for full funding from the provincial government. We want to get a wave of support from parents and the general public to change the thinking of this program. We know the school board has a limited budget, and we will base all our decisions on good evidence before the board and with the students first in mind. As members of the Green Party, we want to embed sustainability in our school systems to have excellent schools with safe.
Thank you, Green Party, and now we'll move on to vote.
Hi everyone. I think one of the themes throughout this evening is that the status quo isn't working, and what we really need to focus on is how we can actually create real change. Every single candidate on the co-platform for school board, for parks, for council comes from an activist background. Not only do we talk about making change, but we actually create it. We have the legacy and we have the history to make sure that that is something that we can accomplish. Not only are we all activists, but every single one of our policies have been created through open and honest and transparent consultation. And that is the type of process that we will bring to the school board, to city council, and to parks board. We have a lot of issues happening right now at our schools. We're trying to create as many culturally safe spaces as we can. We're trying to increase funding, and the only way that we can tackle all those problems is if we get people that are principled and that are willing to fight for you and for your future and for your children's future. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the candidates for their words and for their reflections and answering all of those questions that came from parents, voting parents. What we're going to do now is take a short break, and what I encourage you to do during this break, those of you who are on this side of the stage, is to please enjoy something to drink, have a little bit of a refreshment. And we have prepared candidate bios for you here, and we have plenty of these left. So as you're getting something to drink, please collect one of these bios. While you're doing that, please just take about 5 minutes to do that. While you're doing that, what we will do is arrange the candidates in party order and give you a chance to have some face-to-face opportunity. Those of us who are educators know that interaction is really important. So after 5 minutes, please come back, and then we'll do like kind of a cafe scientifique where you'll get a little opportunity to interact with the candidates for about 10-minute rounds. All right, so thank you very much, and please enjoy your break.
Can't make it stop. Okay.